You are sitting in, like, dead stop traffic.
Yeah.
You've been waiting for 20 minutes, playing by the rules, keeping your place in the lane.
Oh, I hate when this happens.
Right. And suddenly you watch someone veer into the emergency shoulder, completely bypass the miles of cars, merge back in at the very front, and just get away with it.
Yeah, it's the worst.
Or maybe it's higher stakes. You watch a coworker get a massive promotion, not because they put in the work, but entirely because they play dirty politics.
Right, the office schmoozer.
Exactly. Or you log online and see influencers building multi-million-dollar empires on absolute undeniable lies. And it is infuriating.
It really is.
It makes you feel like playing by the rules is just a synonym for being a sucker.
It is a massive friction point for almost everyone. I mean, that visceral reaction you feel, that tightness in your chest when you witness unfairness, that is deeply human.
It's physical. It really is a physical reaction.
Yeah, completely. And that's exactly what we are getting into today. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We are pulling insights from Ryan Holiday's book, Right Thing, Right Now, and we're also looking at the fascinating cultural framing from its Spanish counterpart, ser justo en un mundo injusto.
Which translates to being just in an unjust world, right?
Exactly. And to really ground this, we're bringing in some heavy-hitting modern psychology and neuroscience because instead of just complaining about a cynical, rigged world, this deep dive is about arming you with the actual tools to thrive without becoming a reflection of that world.
Yeah, we are going to use the ancient Stoic framework of justice to understand how doing the right thing isn't about being a martyr. It's actually the ultimate strategy for a fulfilling life.
So to really grasp how to survive a world that is obsessed with shortcuts, we have to rewind a bit. We need to redefine what the word justice actually meant to the ancients.
Right, because when we hear the word justice today, our minds immediately jump to courtrooms, judges, laws, police.
Yeah, we think of an external system.
Exactly. But for the Stoics, it was something entirely different. It was an internal state of character. They considered justice to be the mother virtue.
And what's really fascinating here is how they viewed the dependency of human traits. So the Stoic philosophy is built on 4 core virtues. You've got courage, wisdom, discipline, and justice.
Okay, the big 4.
Right. And they believed that without justice acting as the foundation, the other 3 virtues literally rot.
Oh, wow. Rot.
Yeah, think about it. If you strip fairness and morality away from courage, what are you left with? You aren't a hero. You're just a well-armed thug.
Right. I mean, it takes an incredible amount of courage to, say, rob a bank or lead a violent cartel, but no one would call those actions virtuous. The courage is completely misdirected.
Exactly. And we see the same decay with wisdom. Wisdom without a baseline of justice isn't enlightenment. It curdles into manipulative cunning.
Oh, like the brilliant fraudster.
Yes, the guy who figures out the perfect algorithmic loophole to scam thousands of people out of their savings. They are highly intelligent, sure, but their wisdom is toxic.
And discipline.
Discipline without justice becomes pure, calculated selfishness. You become a machine, just hyper-optimized for your own gain at the expense of everyone around you.
That paints a very vivid picture. So justice is the moral compass that directs the sheer power of the other traits.
Precisely. And the sources point out that the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius was absolutely uncompromising on this.
Right, the philosopher king.
Yeah. He didn't just think injustice was bad for society. He believed that any act of injustice literally corrupts the soul of the person committing it. It degrades your basic humanity.
So he viewed it as self-inflicted damage.
Basically, yeah. Ryan Holiday brings in historical titans to illustrate this, looking deeply at figures like Socrates and Abraham Lincoln.
Okay.
These were individuals who proved that doing the right thing generates long-term greatness, even when it looks like a fatal disadvantage in the short term. Take Socrates in ancient Athens.
Right. He gets put on trial for his life.
Exactly. And all he has to do to survive is grovel, flatter the jury, maybe compromise his philosophical principles, but he refuses.
He chooses the hemlock.
Right. He chooses to drink the poison hemlock rather than validate a corrupt system.
And Lincoln is a similar story of refusing the easy out. I mean, during the Civil War, he endured unimaginable political and personal suffering.
Yeah, the pressure on him was immense.
He was constantly pressured to drop the issue of emancipation just to end the war quickly and secure his own political survival.
Yeah.
But he refused. He constantly prioritized the moral good over the easy compromise.
He did.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I hear the Socrates and Lincoln examples, and my immediate reaction is, sure, but they're historical legends. And Socrates literally died for it.
That's a fair point.
We live in a radically different environment today, and frankly, I don't want to drink hemlock. If we look at the modern reality check, our world is quite literally designed for shortcuts.
It really is.
The algorithms on our phones are engineered to reward outrage and division, not nuanced fairness. Our corporate economies frequently reward short-term greed and quarterly profits over sustainable ethics.
Yeah, it's systemic.
Culturally, we seem to confuse true success with mere status or follower counts. I want to look at this like software engineering.
Oh, I like this. Go on.
Taking a shortcut is like introducing technical debt. You write bad, sloppy code to push a product out faster. It works for a little while, and everyone cheers because you hit the deadline.
Right.
So if everyone else is writing bad code and getting rewarded for it, why on earth shouldn't I take the shortcut too?
Because eventually the whole system crashes. That is the ultimate problem with technical debt, both in software and in character. The temptation is everywhere because the short-term rewards, the promotion, the money, the likes, they're very visible.
Super visible.
But sacrificing your principles for those quick gains leaves you hollow. You might acquire the status, but you lose the one thing you actually have to live with 24 hours a day, which is yourself.
So the internal architecture just collapses under the weight of the bugs you ignored.
It creates immense fragility. The Stoic belief is that true freedom comes from integrity, not from status. When your success is built on lies, favors, or cheating, you are inherently fragile.
Because you're just waiting to get caught.
Exactly. You are constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting to be found out, or living with the quiet, exhausting cognitive dissonance of knowing you didn't actually earn your place.
Wow, yeah.
Integrity is anti-fragile. When you do the right thing, no one can take that away from you. The code is clean, you sleep soundly.
I love that framing. So if taking the shortcut ultimately leaves us hollow and fragile, how do we actually refactor that code? How do we build up this mother virtue in ourselves?
Because it's clearly not an automatic default setting in our modern environment.
Not at all. And the sources highlight that Holiday breaks this down into 3 practical levels, starting from the inside out: the me, the we, and the all.
It's a very logical progression. It starts with the me internal justice. This is about being entirely honest with yourself. It means avoiding self-deception, looking in the mirror and acknowledging your actual motivations, and crucially, meeting your own internal standards even when you are completely alone.
So it's refusing to lie to yourself about why you did something.
Exactly. And the science backing this up is fascinating. We can look at the positive psychology research of Roy Baumeister.
Oh, he's famous for studying self-control and willpower, right?
He is. And Baumeister's research shows that people with high self-control, which is essentially the ability to maintain internal congruence and align actions with deep values, they report significantly higher long-term well-being and life satisfaction.
Just from self-control.
Yeah, and here's the mechanism behind why. They aren't happier because they are white-knuckling their way through life, resisting temptation every single second. They are happier because they structure their lives to avoid the internal civil war.
Meaning they don't have that exhausting cognitive dissonance draining their energy.
Oh,
wow.
exactly.
Okay, so once the me is sorted and the internal friction is low, we move outward to the we. This is relational justice.
Right. The we is about how you treat the people immediately around you. It's treating others with equity, empathy, and respect.
So keeping your promises.
Keeping promises, refusing to take advantage of someone, even if the opportunity is handed to you on a silver platter, and you know with absolute certainty you wouldn't get caught.
And there is neuroscience to back this up too, which completely blew my mind. The sources detail the research by Tanya Singer, who used fMRI functional magnetic resonance imaging to study altruism.
Yeah, this study is incredible.
She wanted to see what actually happens inside the human brain when we are fair to others.
This is where the biological imperative for justice becomes visible on a screen. So in these studies, researchers put subjects in an fMRI scanner and give them a choice.
Okay.
They can either keep a financial reward for themselves, or they can choose to act fairly and share it with someone else. Singer's scans reveal that when a person engages in acts of generosity or relational fairness, the brain's ventral striatum activates.
And just for context, the ventral striatum is the brain's primary reward center. It's the exact same area that lights up when you eat a great meal or win the lottery, right?
Yes. And the scans show that choosing fairness lights up that reward center just as much, if not more, than when the person is receiving material pleasures themselves.
That is wild.
We are literally biologically wired to receive immense pleasure from being just to our fellow human beings.
I have to admit, though, I struggle with this a bit.
How so?
Well, I'm going to be completely honest here. Here's where it gets really interesting. If my ventral striatum loves sharing so much, if we have empirical proof that the brain rewards us for being generous, why is my first instinct sometimes to be entirely selfish?
Oh, sure.
Why am I so tempted to hoard the credit on a shared project at work or cut someone off in traffic to save 30 seconds? Building justice feels like going to the gym. It hurts in the moment, and no one else notices your gains at first.
That's a great analogy. It comes down to a conflict between different evolutionary timelines in your brain.
What do you mean?
So, the temptation to cheat or take a shortcut triggers a very immediate, shallow dopamine spike. It's an ancient survival mechanism telling you to secure the immediate resource at all costs.
Grab the calories, grab the credit.
Exactly. But the reward we get from altruism and relational justice, that fMRI glow, is a deeper, more sustainable neurochemical state. It involves oxytocin and serotonin.
Ah, yeah.
It's tied to social bonding and long-term survival within a community. Our modern environment heavily stimulates the short-term dopamine pathway with instant gratification, but our deepest, lasting well-being relies on that long-term pathway.
So we are wired for both, but the modern world is constantly hitting the big red button for the short-term cheat code.
Which is why the third level of Holiday's framework is so vital. We've covered how justice works within our own minds, the me, and in our immediate relationships, the we. But to truly counteract that short-term wiring, the Stoics zoomed out much further.
To the final level.
Yes,
The all, cosmic justice.
This is the recognition of universal interconnection. It's caring for the common good, the environment, future generations. The Stoics didn't just see themselves as citizens of Rome or Athens.
They viewed all of humanity as a single interconnected organism.
Exactly. To harm one part of the organism is to harm the whole.
Because cosmic justice sounds very lofty and theoretical, but it plays out in incredibly mundane, everyday ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about returning a shopping cart at the grocery store.
Yes, the ultimate test.
Right. There is no law forcing you to do it. There is no financial reward for doing it. You will likely never meet the person who needs that marking spot after you. But returning the cart is an act of acknowledging the all. You do it simply because it maintains the fabric of a functioning society.
That is a brilliant way to ground it. And if we look at the long-term data on human happiness, it completely validates this ancient idea of prioritizing the all.
The sources highlight the famous Harvard grant study, don't they?
Yes, which is one of the longest-running studies on human life ever conducted.
They tracked individuals for over 80 years.
Which is just staggering when you think about it.
Yeah, they started in 1938 with a group of Harvard sophomores and a group of inner-city Boston teenagers. And they followed them for their entire lives, tracking everything from their physical health to their career success to figure out what actually makes a good life.
And the results, synthesized by researchers like Robert Waldinger, are undeniable. The absolute greatest predictors of long-term health, happiness, and cognitive preservation were not wealth, not IQ, and not cholesterol levels.
Which is what everyone assumes it would be.
Right. But it was the quality of the relationships, specifically relationships based on deep trust and equity.
It's amazing to think that fairness actually impacts physical health. How does that mechanism even work?
It basically comes down to stress.
Yeah.
When you operate without justice, when you constantly take shortcuts and exploit others, you live in a state of low-grade paranoia and isolation.
Ah, waiting to get caught again.
Exactly. That chronic lack of trust keeps your nervous system flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. Over decades, that cortisol literally breaks down your cardiovascular system.
Wow.
The individuals in the study who nurtured their connection to the all, who treated others fairly and built trusting communities, they had lower stress levels and physically lived longer, healthier lives.
So treating others poorly literally breaks your own heart over time.
Essentially, yes.
But this sense of fairness, it's not something we invent as adults, is it? Because the moral psychology research of Jonathan Haidt and Joshua Green shows that this is a deep human instinct.
Haidt and Green's work demonstrates that we have an innate, intuitive sense of fairness built into our hardware. To prove this, researchers conducted experiments with babies as young as 6 months old.
6 months.
Yeah, before they can even speak. They would show the babies a puppet show where one puppet is trying to open a box. A second puppet comes along and helps open the box.
Okay, the helper.
Then they run the show again, but this time a third puppet comes along and violently slams the box shut, hindering the first puppet.
And what happens when they put the puppets in front of the babies afterward?
Overwhelmingly, the babies reach for the helper puppet and avoid the hinderer puppet. Before they've been taught any religious or legal codes, human beings recognize and prefer fair play.
So what does this all mean? If we are born with this innate preference for justice, why is the adult world so full of line skippers and corrupt bosses? Why does the instinct fail?
Because applying that innate justice in a complex adult world isn't an automatic reflex. It encounters friction. It requires effort. And if you don't continually practice applying it, that instinct gets buried under convenience.
It atrophies.
Exactly. Which brings to mind a very specific warning from Marcus Aurelius mentioned in the sources: injustice by omission.
Injustice by omission. Doing nothing.
We often think of injustice as an act of crime, stealing, lying, cheating. But Marcus Aurelius recognized that turning a blind eye to the suffering of others or watching an unfair system operate without speaking up is a failure of justice.
Apathy is an injustice.
Yes. When you witness the we or the all being harmed and you choose the comfort of silence over courage, you are participating in the harm. Your inaction damages the interconnected organism.
That is a heavy realization.
Yeah.
It really shifts the burden of responsibility. It means I can't just say, well, I didn't cause the problem, so my hands are clean.
Right.
If justice requires constant effort to overcome adult apathy, how exactly do we, the listeners, train it every single day, especially when the world is constantly pushing back?
That is where Holiday's practical application comes in. He offers an ultimate daily framing question. It's incredibly simple, but very difficult to execute consistently.
Okay, what is it?
The question is, what is the right thing I can do right now? Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient, but right now in this exact moment facing this exact situation.
What is the right thing I can do right now? I love how immediate that is.
It grounds you.
And the sources break down some specific actionable exercises to help answer that question. The first one is practicing what they call micro-justice, which is basically recognizing that you don't need a grand sweeping crisis to practice fairness.
I actually think microjustice is the most important takeaway for daily life. We often get paralyzed because we think justice requires protesting in the streets or whistleblowing at a massive corporation.
Right, some huge heroic act.
But microjustice is about the tiny, everyday decisions that write the code of your character. It's keeping a very small promise, like showing up to a meeting exactly when you said you would. It's offering a kind word to someone who is clearly struggling.
I actually had a moment like this just yesterday. I was looking over a slide deck for a presentation, and I realized a coworker had done the heavy lifting on a section I was presenting.
Oh, I've been there.
The temptation was to just let it slide and take the implicit credit. It's so easy to do nothing. But the microjustice was taking 30 seconds to send an email explicitly giving them the credit before the meeting started. It's a tiny action, but it refactors the internal code.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is those exact 30-second decisions that prevent the injustice by omission.
Yeah.
Another crucial exercise the sources recommend is role-playing. This isn't literal acting. It's a cognitive exercise where you forcefully put yourself in another person's shoes before reacting to them. It's a tool to build empathy.
Like the traffic example we started with.
Exactly. If someone cuts you off in traffic, your immediate dopamine-driven reaction is rage. But before you hit the horn, you force yourself to build a backstory for them.
Like maybe they are rushing a sick child to the hospital.
Or maybe they just lost their job and are panicked. You don't know for sure, but forcing your brain to consider their reality cools down the outrage and builds the empathy required for relational justice.
And the third tool mentioned is keeping a justice journal. This sounds so incredibly simple, but the instruction is to explicitly note down one fair decision you made each day and reflect on the emotional feeling that followed it. Why is writing it down so important?
Because writing it down makes it tangible. You are documenting your own character growth. You are creating a physical record that proves you are a person who values fairness.
Oh, so it shifts your self-identity.
Yes. Character is not something you are magically born with. It is built, decision by decision, action by action.
I think that completely reframes how I view my day. We absolutely cannot control the external chaos of the world. We can't control the social media algorithms, the corrupt bosses, or the line skippers.
Not at all.
But controlling our response to them, choosing integrity when no one would blame us for taking the shortcut, that is the ultimate rebellion against a cynical society.
It is the most powerful form of agency a human being has.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's summarize the core takeaway. Being just does not make you weak. It does not make you a sucker. It makes you free. The world isn't going to suddenly become fair because you decided to be good. But you can be fair. And doing so changes your entire internal reality. It cleans up your technical debt and gives you an unshakable foundation.
The external environment remains exactly the same. but your experience of it and your resilience within it is completely transformed.
So here's our challenge to you, the listener, for this week. Look at your own life and identify just one situation in the coming days where you are deeply tempted to take a shortcut.
Just one.
Maybe it's a white lie to avoid an awkward conversation. Maybe it's taking credit for a shared project. Or maybe it's just staying silent when you know you should speak up. Catch yourself in that moment and consciously choose the right thing instead. And ask yourself at the end of the day, was I just today?
And as you mull over that challenge, I want to leave you with a final lingering thought that builds on everything we've discussed.
Go for it.
We started this deep dive by talking about the deep frustration of watching the line skippers, the greedy bosses, and the lying influencers win. But, as the Stoics believed, injustice literally corrupts the soul. And if, as the Harvard Grant study proved, a lack of trust destroys you physically and mentally, this raises an important question.
Yeah.
What if the people we resent the most are actually suffering from a profound lack of internal justice? What if, by winning unfairly in the short term, they're secretly punishing themselves far worse than we ever could?